Hi, I'm Jean Szulc and welcome. In this video we'll talk about musical accompaniments and how to use those little figures and formulas, like some people like to call them. Let's see how you can use this stuff to your advantage. Right, so the first thing to have in mind is that this is like a really easy content. You don't have to have knowledge in music theory before, you just have to know how to read a bit of sheet music. I'm sure that you will understand the content after you watch the whole video, right? So be sure to stick until the end, because this is just knowledge that it's not something that you have to practice too much. It's just something that once you know it's there, it's there. So let's dive into the actual content and see how it works, what it is, and how you can use it in your own composition. So a musical accompaniment is basically like a figure or a shape that doesn't really contain much on its own, but that you can fill in content, like material, like maybe harmonic, sometimes melodic material. It usually contains a distinct rhythm also, and it's something that is very blank. It's almost like a blank pattern to which you can attach the required content or material of your piece. And it's really important to have that because it just makes everything work better usually, especially if you're talking about music like from the 17th to the 19th century. It just makes everything sound more concise and easier to digest for the listener while not making it like childish. And beginners sometimes shy away from those. I know it because I did, and I saw like other people who also did it, because it feels like you're not really composing when you use like those figures and formulas. For some reason, like people feel like they are like cheating on the process of composition, so they just try to like really write everything down and try to figure out like what every beat of every measure should be. But really, when I realized like that if you use like accompanimental forms and formulas well, like it doesn't sound as if you cheated like on the process of music composition at all, and it just becomes a lot better. And it's just a process of learning how to use it well instead of just like slapping it into whatever thing you're composing, right? So let's dive into a few examples. If you want to learn more about this, I'll leave a few pieces of music in the description that you can look at the sheets and you can just see what the composer did. And there's no like wrong or right way of analyzing it. It's just like listen to it and like keep all of the things that you learn in there in mind, because it will be useful for you as a composer. So the first piece of music we'll take a look at, it's something that like most people have already heard in their life, which is Mozart's Sonata in C major, K4, 545. It's very simple, I guess. Like one of the easiest examples to grasp what accompanimental formulas and figures are. And then once you realize that, like everything else becomes so much easier. So let's just listen to like two parts of it, like the two themes in the sonata form, so that we can have those in mind, and I'll explain what's going on later, right? So let's listen to it really quickly. Okay, so in the beginning you have this what's called an oboe bass. Like you have this melody which everyone knows, and beneath it on the left hand you have the oboe bass, which is basically like an arpeggio, except it has its own shape. Like you have usually if you're thinking about a chord in root position, you have the root, the fifth, the third, and the fifth once again, and then it loops. But then due to voice leading, people usually don't use the root position every time, so you just move the notes to the chord that you're playing. So in C major you play C, G, E, G once again, right? And then if you want to play the dominant, you can play either D, G, F, G, or B, G, D, G. It's really hard to say this out loud, and it's really tricky. I don't know why, but that's the thing. It's very simple and everyone has heard that, right? So It's really easy to use that, and if it fits your purpose, like, don't shy away from it. Like, if it sounds good for you, or if it sounds good in the situation you're composing in, use it. You know, there's no problem in using that kind of stuff. The second part, you have like that more like fast accompaniment measure, and what's interesting about that is that it, like, at a certain point, while the melody has kind of stopped for a moment, it has like a counter melody or something between those lines. Like, it has a little bit of melody on it, while also having accompaniment, which makes the whole piece sound a lot freer and lighter and more like lively. And it's something that you can do. Like, accompanimental figures don't necessarily have to be like the oboe bass, which contain like almost no like real melodic material on it. It's just harmony that's being like expanded through like time. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can create like more interest if you're using like accompaniment lines that fit the exact purpose. The second example we'll look at today, we already saw that on our motifs, phrases, period, phrase groups, sentences videos. It's Beethoven's Opus 59 number 1 once again, and I chose this piece because like the very beginning of it, it has this very simple, like, it's almost hard to call it an accompanimental figure, but it's an accompaniment, which is simply like 8 notes on the string quartet, like divided on the strings, like just like playing a chord, you know, or playing the harmony that is present at the moment. So let's listen to it, and I won't even comment too much about it because like there's no reason to. I'm showing it to you just so that you know that you can do this, but like you can do all sorts of stuff. From now on, I'll just give examples and stuff that you can do, but like it's just important that you look for stuff like this on your own, and that you make the best out of like the music you already hear, and you try to extract from that accompaniment like figures you like and that you can use on your own pieces. Yeah, like it's as you heard it, it's like incredibly simple. There's like almost nothing to comment about it. Like it's like you can look at the harmony, but like that doesn't really matter to the accompaniment figure. Like what matters is that it's like voice led well and it works. Keep all of that in mind. As I said, it's just something to know. Right, so the next example, and I think it's where like things start to get a little bit more interesting when it comes to analyzing this music. It's in Mozart's K378, right? Which is violin and piano sonata, and it's really interesting. I'll use the third movement as an example, but like you can use whatever movement you analyze, you will learn stuff. And Mozart uses accompaniment figures like incredibly well, right? He uses them like very purposely, and like if you want to learn about them like by yourself, and if you want to analyze sheet music, I guess his music is just the best when it comes to this, especially his like piano works, his sonata for piano and violin, like those works that contain a small formation. He just does the best of it. I'll leave some examples of those like in the description so that you can look for them like on your own, and I really recommend you do, because you will learn a lot of stuff from that. So what's interesting about this example is that as you have like the melody is being divided between the violin and the piano, then what happens is that Mozart like finds different ways of like spreading the accompaniment like in the voices that he has, right? So he can do it either on the left hand of the piano, on the right hand of the piano, or in the violin, and he does in all of that. And it's just important that like you look at the entire piece, and especially this last movement, but like I'll show like a few sections in which the accompaniment is like present, but like in different situations, so that you can like have an idea of how he does that, and how he does that actually incredibly well. Okay, so something that is actually very interesting to notice here is that this reminds, at least to me, a lot of the Alberti bass. Like you have this arpeggio that kind of like repeats the last note, like, or the upper notes of the arpeggio. But what's interesting to realize about this is that as this is in a ternary measure, he can't use the Alberti bass, right? So he has to find something else, or I mean, he can find whatever he wants, like we all can, but like he finds something that is quite close to the Alberti bass that fits in this time signature, and like it works incredibly well and it feels lively. It must also be noted that like as this is a presto, it's very fast. So like this line, he had to find something that works well when played like fast, right? And this works incredibly well. It's well divided between the instruments, between the hands of the both hands of the pianist, right? So it's just something that like you should keep in mind, and it works incredibly well. And finally, but not least, we have something I just thought like sometimes people feel like those accompaniment measures or forms, they are actually like only present when you have like a piano or like one instrument and you have like small formations, because then you have to like really use what you have. But no, this is actually present in like huge formations as well. And this is why I decided to choose something which is gigantic, right? I chose Mahler's First Symphony because like we all know that Mahler like really enjoyed writing for like gigantic orchestras, and he used accompanimental like figures a lot. Whatever movement you look into, you will find like accompaniments, and I just chose this one in particular, the third one, because like it is very clear. You have like a very simple figure, but like it permeates like a really big part of the movement. There's a lot of stuff going on in the piece, but like there's always this accompanimental figure. Let's listen to it and you'll understand what I'm talking about. So like as you can see, like even when you're composing for like gigantic formations, then like those accompanimental figures, they will be present, and it's just really important that you know that. To learn that, it's just like you have to analyze music and you have to see what fits your purpose. Like there's no methods on how to write like accompaniments, right? But like there are all sorts of stuff you can do. You can resort to like classic accompanimental figures like the Alberti bass, for instance, or you can create something that's very particular and you can create like all sorts of textures and sounds with it. And it's just important that like you work your stuff out. As I always say, like this is the one advice I have to give like every single video, because it's just really important that like you sit down and see what works in your piece. So I hope this helped you in any way. If it did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so that you can receive more. I'm working on a whole lot more videos, right? So I'm posting every week now, every Saturday. So if you tune in on every Saturday, you will receive new content. I will also post a few pieces of mine that I'm finishing right now. So don't forget to stay tuned for that. And thank you a lot for watching. If I helped you, don't forget to leave a comment. Don't forget to like look at the sheet musics I left on the description, because it will help you learn all of this material. And I'll see you next time.